back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill.
And I'm James Blackburn.
And this week's episode, we're discussing social networking.
Yes, that is networking of the social kind.
And why it's so important to, have friends and neighbors that you can share and barter with and work together with in case something happens. People that you can rely on in a crisis.
Exactly. And I think even our beautiful and wonderful co-host, Dani, told me a story once about how they were the people in the neighborhood with the water in the emergency situation.
That's right, after a tornado.
Yeah, exactly. So they had something to help out other folks, but also something to trade for things that they might need in that situation. So I agree. Social networking it's huge, and that's why I'm really happy we're doing a whole episode about it.
Yep.
It'll really give folks a lot more to think about.
That's right. And, we have a guest for this episode as well. He was here before, and we brought him back because we're going to talk a little bit about ham radios, which is a specialty. So let's Sasquatch call Dani in, just because that's so much fun.
Dani!
I don't think that will ever get old. All right. Well, on the subject of social networking, we have one of our socials here. Randy, come on back. This is Randy Ferrin.
Round of applause.
Yay!
As we all go clockwise.
Thanks
I'll
for
be
coming
back.
man.
Hey, no
that is an
problem.
awesome vest, by the way. I got
like
one just
it?
like it. Yeah, beautiful.
It's a very common vest.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Randy Ferrin, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
We're talking about social networking and why it's so important to have a group of actual people, not some digital thing, but actual people that you're friends with, that you trust, that you can turn to in a crisis type situation. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think is important is to kind of have a phone tree or a book with people's names and numbers and addresses, because if we lose that technology, or your computer goes down, or your batteries die, who are you going to call?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true, because so many folks, they have these things right now, and all your numbers and emails are stored in here. And I can tell you, I've lost phones before and lost all that information.
Right?
See, look, I just lost my phone just now.
So what's my phone number?
I can't say it on TV, dude.
Right?
But I actually do have yours memorized, though. But I agree. You need an actual written down version of these things, because technology doesn't always last.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the things is different assets that people might have. What comes to mind when you think of that?
Ham radio. That's a good one. Anything that you can use when the grid goes down. I like your idea of writing things down, addresses, people you can count on, or having a plan with those people to, if something bad happens.
Sure, like where you're going to meet. Like someone might have a farm or a place that's kind of outside of town on a lot of acreage, and that might be a safer place to go if there's looting or rioting in the city.
Exactly.
And, that person may not have the ham communication skills, but they're really good with canning, preserving, or whatever. So they're like, Randy, come up and you can do the communications and we'll feed you and give you a place to sleep.
Sounds good to me. I'll make phone calls.
And why is it so good, to have the ham radio?
Well, it's got a lot of range. If several people have them, you can coordinate things, communicate.
What kind of range do they have on average?
Depending on terrain and weather conditions, things like that, and the power of the radio, you can get anywhere from, just a few miles line of sight to a few hundred miles in our state, because we have a repeater system that sends the signal out. You can be sitting 300 miles away from somebody you're speaking with.
Nice.
So.
And can you use a ham radio to patch into other things other than ham radios? I mean, can you get to a regular CB on there too?
Not a CB, not from a ham radio. You'd have to use another CB. But
Right.
Some of the repeaters in the state have a telephone patch, and if the phone system's still working, you can make a phone call through a repeater on your ham radio.
That's neat.
Another gadget to go out and buy after the show.
So another thing that's important, I think, is having maps of the area that you live in, and maybe a possible, I call it an escape route, And that's because if there was, you know, a flood, you look at, say, Hurricane Katrina or something, or a major earthquake, and freeways collapse and move, and now your way of egress is taken away from you, you should know different possibilities of what you can do. You know, what are my other options to get out of here if something happens?
So know several ways in and out of town, basically.
Yeah.
In case you have to leave town quickly. And speaking from the town that we live in, we know there's not a lot of side routes, so you have to kind of explore a little bit and find all those things. Be prepared in advance, basically.
Yep.
Yep.
And different routes for different modes of transportation. Walking, bicycle, driving. If the roads are gone, you might end up walking to wherever you're trying to get to this group that you found where everyone's got diverse skills and you're going to help each other out.
And so with your maps too, is you don't just rely on, say, a GPS or your computer.
No.
Have physical copies of these things so that if you do lose your technology, you are not lost now. You have something physical that you can have in, say, a go bag, which we'll talk about in another episode,
Yep.
so that you're ready to, in case something happens.
Oh, yeah.
So the go bag is basically a moment's notice. You can be out the door and meet up with the people that we're talking about on this episode.
Yep.
So can we meet up with you after?
Sure.
This? All right, awesome, man. Well, we're brothers of the beard, so
That's
we've
right.
got to look out for each other.
Beard farmers.
Yes, beard farmers. I like it. I'm also a hair farmer, too.
Yeah, I'm
Now,
I'm
what
not so
about
good at that.
alternative forms of communication other than a ham radio? Are there other things that we could have?
Hand signals.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
Learn smoke signals. If you know Morse code, you can use a mirror to communicate from mountaintop to mountaintop. But I do not know Morse code. But
Yeah, I don't either,
No.
unfortunately.
I could say dots and dashes, but it probably end up being something.
Right, you'll be saying, you think you're saying SOS, but you're saying, bring me a ham radio.
Yeah.
yep, you can do like the old days, and if you have two groups, send runners with messages back and forth.
Yeah.
But other than that,
So, you know, overall, it's just really important to have that social network, to have that group of people that have your back, that you can share skills and experiences with. And like I said, keep your sanity and all that. So, but, you know, we have some beginner's box items that we're going to go through because barter will play a factor. So let's call in Danny with the beginner's box.
Danny, beginner's box,
Danny!
beginner's box, woo!
Beginner's box!
I really feel like we need to have a theme song with this. Just
I need one of those little party toys.
That'd get so annoying so fast.
Right?
Take it off. Well, so our beginner's box this time around are essentially barter items, but I know that one of our biggest items that we've been talking about is a ham radio, so I'm going to kind of just pull this out and we can talk briefly about it. How about I hand that to you, since
Sure.
it's kind of pointing your way. So,
this is a small, handy talkie. It's got a limited range, 5 watts of power. So going from one radio to another, you might get about 5 miles, but depending on the antenna you hook to it, and if you have a repeater to go to it, you could talk to someone several hundred miles away.
wow.
So it's not a bad thing to have, fairly cheap. I think this one cost about $50.
That's pretty amazing. So, you know, if you wanted to barter with somebody the next town over, you could arrange it and, you know, find a
Meet in the
meeting
middle.
point. And it's like, we're bringing the peach preserves.
Yeah, this is
Just
a
like
lot
that.
easier than tying 2 tin cans to a string across
Keeping
a
it
town,
taut.
too, you know?
Yeah.
Or Morse code,
Like
as
when we
I
were
was
kids,
here.
you know?
What else we got here?
Well, we also have this one here on top is ammunition. And when it comes to bartering items, this is pretty invaluable. Not many folks know how to essentially, what is it technically, reloading empty shells, and it can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So having ammunition, whether or not you have a gun, maybe even a little box of ammo, say, I'll trade you this for this, would
Sure,
be
because
very
there's
good.
there's protection, but there's also hunting. And, you know, for this here, 22 game round is great for squirrels and birds and snakes and stuff like that. So
Little
It is.
And next up, we have some matches here. These are just, very, very traditional matches, nothing too special about them. But when it comes to trying to light things, obviously, if you don't have the fancy schmancy, waterproof matches, and if you've run out of fluid in your little clicker, those are gold right there. So.
It's a nice multi-pack too, so you got plenty of storage right there, and I don't think like food they have an expiration date, so that you can just have them there until
Keep
you
them
need
dry.
them.
Exactly. And for this is going all Shawshank Redemption status. We have cigarettes. Now I don't smoke, but these can be just gold when it comes to trying to barter and trading. They're better than if anything kind of goes down and you need something other than paper money. Paper money starts to become very useless, but things that people need or really want as far as luxuries like cigarettes.
Vices, cigarettes, and alcohol.
Yep.
Yep.
Very true, and I bet that you could get anybody who has this vice to trade some of these for those. So.
Yep. Speaking of vice, we have coffee.
Oh yes, Jason's
Thanks.
favorite.
Fine.
Yep.
Very valuable.
I gotta have mine in the morning, so I'm right there along with it. And as far as our last barter item here, especially if, I'm sorry, there's more in there. Especially if you have children. I mean, instant dry milk, it lasts for a very long time and it trades very nicely.
Yep.
And dun-dun, as this loud thing clicked in the bottom. We have coin here. This one you can trade for them, or you can keep them and collect them, as my mom got me into. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, it's debatable whether or not coins would be important or not. But when we come back, we're going to have a quick video and a contest, and it's going to be fun.